Good evening and welcome to Big Future. My name is Gracie Carnes. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm so excited to be kicking off tonight's Big Future Live event, Fund Your Future New York. A little bit about me is I am from Temple High School in Temple, Georgia, and I am a senior this year in high school. And I'm also a Big Future ambassador. I'm one of over 10,000 high school student leaders who help others to plan for their life after high school. I became a Big Future ambassador because honestly, I wanted to be able to help those around me in any way that I possibly could. And I felt that becoming a Big Future ambassador was one of the best ways I could do it. And I was right. We are so thankful that you're joining us today. I know it's probably been a long day at school or work for the parents and educators with us. So thank you for joining us tonight at Big Future Live. This is our third Big Future Live event that's geared specifically towards students in New York. But even if you're not from New York, like myself, no worries for joining. Anybody can join Big Future. For those of you who don't know, Big Future Live is a series of virtual community events where you connect with college reps, career experts, and peers to help you plan for your life after high school. Big Future Live was created so you can get your questions answered to plan your future your way. Now, we all know that your next step after high school is a big deal. It's exciting, but it can also be expensive, and navigating how to pay for school isn't exactly easy. Today, we're joined by our experts and students at two institutions in New York, Colgate University and Rochester Institute of Technology, to answer your questions about paying for college, financial aid, scholarships, and more. So get your questions ready, and welcome to the Big Future Live family.
Thanks so much, Gracie, and thank you to all of the students and parents and educators joining us this evening. Welcome to Fund Your Future New York. My name is Jackie Giordano, and I work on the College Board team and with folks from Big Future. Big Future is a team of former educators, parents, college and career planning pros, and others committed to helping all students take the right first step for them after high school. As Gracie said, our goal at Big Future Live is to answer your questions. You won't sit through long presentations or tons of PowerPoint slides. This is a virtual community powered by students, parents, and your questions. So we have a lot of you with us today, which is awesome. We'd love to know, who is here, and it will help us better answer your questions today. So we're going to put up a poll, and if you take a second to answer it, if you're a student, what grade are you in? If you're a parent, what grade is your child in? So we're going to wait a minute to see some results of the survey. Okay. We have a pretty decent split about well, now it's changing. So I'm going to wait 1 minute before I tell you who you are. Okay. This is great. About 14% of you are freshmen or family members of freshmen. About 24% are 10th graders. Almost 50% of you are in 11th grade, and about 16% of you are seniors. And regardless of where you are in your high school experience at this point in time, we are thrilled to have you here with us, and we are here for you. I am going to have our speakers introduce themselves. So I would like you to each introduce yourself, and when you do, would you please say who you are, where you're from, and one fun fact about you or the institution that you are representing today. So could we bring in our speakers? There they are. Great. Gina, I'm going to start with you and put you on the spot, and then we can go around the room.
Sounds great. My name is Gina Solis, and I am Senior Associate Dean and Director of Financial Aid at Colgate University. We are in Central New York, and a fun fact about myself is I love to cook, and I've collected almost 60 cookbooks in my library.
All right, I'm going to go around in a circle. Regan?
Hi, I'm Reagan. I'm a fourth year finance major, and I go to RIT in Rochester, New York, although I'm originally from South Burlington, Vermont. And a fun fact about me and kind of my school, I guess, is that we have a crocheting club here, and I joined last month, and I learned how to make a bunny.
That's amazing. Matt?
Good evening. My name is Matt Reinell. I'm an assistant director here in the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships. I'm also from RIT in Rochester, New York. I guess it would be a double fun fact. A fun fact about RIT is that we are the first of its kind to have a National Technical Institute for the Deaf, and that is my student population. And a fun fact about me is that I am fluent in sign language.
Thank you. Rajay?
Hi everyone, I'm Rajay. I'm from Philadelphia. I'm a senior at Colgate University. And a fun fact about me is that I'm going to London next semester to study abroad.
And Teresa?
Hello everyone, I'm Teresa Brown. I'm one of the senior assistant directors in financial aid at Rochester Institute of Technology. A fun fact about me, let's see, I'll share I'm going to Disney World, bringing my 20-year-old daughter to Disney World for the first time over the holiday break.
That's awesome. It will still be magical no matter how old you are. All right, before we jump into your questions, I'm going to go over a little bit of housekeeping for our session. During our event, you'll be in listen only mode for the whole event, which means that you can see us, but we can't see you. But that doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you. There is an ask a question box in the bottom of the screen where you can type in your questions. So Big Future Live is where you can come to get your questions answered. So do not be shy. And I know there's already some questions coming in. There's a lot of people here, but we're going to do our best to get through as many questions as possible. At the end, we are going to have a feedback survey that will allow you to share with us how the session went and what we can do to make future events even better for students. And then finally, if you miss anything during the event or have to walk away from your computer or phone, there will be a recording that we will post on bigfuture.org/live that you'll be able to go reference later. And today is just one of our many events. So that website also will show a listing of weekly events available to you so that you can think about your next steps after high school. So let's do one more quick poll before we launch into your questions. And we really are interested in, the topics that you are most interested in hearing about today. So if we can launch that poll, we're really interested in hearing, what's top of mind: the cost of college, how to apply for financial aid, how to find scholarships, or New York specific scholarships and financial aid programs. So I'm going to take a quick look at the poll results. And I'm just going to wait another minute to see what else comes in. All right, it looks like most people are interested in how to find scholarships. That's a little over 50%. And then cost of college and New York specific scholarships and financial aid programs come in next, along with, and then applying for financial aid. So we are going to take our first question, and that is from Carlene. And she wants to know, how does applying to financial aid work? And does eligibility for financial aid vary from college to college? So I'm going to pick on Gina again to get us going. And that's because I know Gina, so I feel like I can pick on her to get us started, and then we'll work around the rest of the questions.
That sounds great. So applying for financial aid, there is one uniform application that all colleges and universities will use. That's the free application for federal student aid. We refer to it as the FAFSA. And other schools might also require other applications like the CSS profile, or they might have their own financial aid application. And so basically you would fill out the universal FAFSA and list all of the schools that you're interested in, and make sure that you also fill out those additional forms if needed. And then the financial aid officers will review that information and basically based on the type of financial aid that they have available, whether it's merit-based scholarships or need-based financial aid, as well as the federal aid, which is determined from the FAFSA, we put together a financial aid package. And oftentimes it could get sent with the admission offer or slightly after an admission offer is made. And basically you can see the eligibility of financial aid that you have after you fill out those applications. And it really can vary from school to school. I think that was part of the question. So it's distinctly possible that you might be offered a merit-based scholarship at one program and a need-based award at another, but we want you to compare the bottom line. And so there's this philosophy or this theory of net price, and you would want to compare apples to apples of what the cost of attendance is at each school minus gift aid like grants and scholarships to come up with the net price. And then just be sure to really read the fine print of other financial aid offers that aren't need-based or merit-based scholarships or grants. In other words, some schools might offer you loans or work study. And so you just want to keep that in mind as you're comparing offers.
Thanks, Gina. A follow-up question, and this comes from Aaliyah. What ways can I determine early how much I can spend in college? I'm currently researching, excuse me, but I do not know how to approach cost. I just know I cannot, nor do I want to pay a lot. Teresa, can I ask you to start answering that question?
That's a good question. And a lot of students want to know as soon as possible, right? My best advice is to apply to many different schools because you never know what you're going to receive from the different colleges. So like Gina had said, one college may provide, let's say, $13,000 in aid, where another college will only provide $4,000, but you want to see the different costs. So just because if the college has a high cost of attendance, it appears to be more expensive, you never know until you apply for financial aid, because it's possible that they give you enough financial aid that will match a lower cost college that wouldn't award as much aid. So again, as she was saying, it's the net cost that you're looking at. So how to determine how much you can spend? First, definitely start saving if you can now. If you work over the summer while you're in high school, talk to your parents about that. And then ultimately, just apply. You could have, on the FAFSA, you're able to list up to 10 colleges at one time, and that information will be sent to that college. And if you apply for admissions for those colleges, it's possible they'll give you an award offer, and then you could compare and see what's the market actually offering you.
I'm going to ask a couple more of these specific questions that I'm going to ask our student panel to share their stories when they were applying and how they made their decisions. From Beth, she asked, how is the amount of financial aid calculated? Matt, can I ask you to address that question?
Sure, no problem. So there's a basic formula that all financial aid offices will use to come up with the amount of financial aid that's going to be offered to a student. It's composed of the cost of attendance, which is the budget of the school that you're going to for the year, minus the EFC, the expected family contribution that will be generated through the FAFSA form. The expected family contribution does not always equal what you will be paying out of pocket, but it's a good tool to use. For my office in particular here at RIT, once a student has been accepted through the admissions process and the file comes to our office, during the admissions process, they're reviewed for any kind of merit-based scholarships. We will then couple that with the FAFSA information when you've completed your FAFSA form, and we will set up a financial aid offer letter. As long as you're doing things in a timely fashion with filling out applications for admissions, as well as filling out your FAFSA form on time, you'll be able to get your financial aid offer letters way before you need to make a decision what school you're going to attend. And I always like to tell, especially incoming freshmen, if there's a school that's in your top 3 or top 5 and you're looking at the financial offer letter and it's that you're making a decision based on the finances to go there, call the financial aid office and let's make sure that everything has been put on the FAFSA form accurately. You know, is there a financial circumstance going on that you can appeal for or other things like that?
Great, thanks. Beth had a follow-up question. Is financial aid calculated differently for private versus public institutions in New York State? You think, can any of you answer that question? I know you're all from private institutions.
Yeah, that's okay. I think when I made mention of the other forms, CSS profile or institutional financial aid applications, oftentimes private schools will also use those supplemental forms to help determine a family's ability to pay for school. I really like what Teresa said, is that sometimes the bottom line, there won't necessarily be too big of a difference, or in some cases it might even be a pleasant surprise that potentially a private school could cost even less than a public school. So really, I would say don't let the sticker price scare you from attending. And something that you can even do ahead of time to sort of get an idea of what type of financial aid, the amount of financial aid that could be offered, is every school is required to have a net price calculator on their website. So anybody could log on to the different college and university websites and plug in some information, and then you'd get a pretty good estimate of the type of financial aid that you might be eligible for. So it's a really good starting point.
Great, thanks. I want to take a pause and I would like to ask Reagan and then Rajay to talk about your decisions in your college choice and how financial aid or scholarships may have played a factor in your decisions. So Reagan, I'll start with you, and then Rajay, you can jump in after her, okay?
All right. So getting my financial aid package was the #1 decision in me choosing to go to RIT. I applied to 6 schools and I got into all of them. They all gave me financial aid using the same FAFSA, but the financial aid package that RIT gave me was significantly more. And I'm paying for school out of my own pocket, and I worked throughout high school to be able to afford it. So I definitely wanted to make sure that I wasn't spending that much and taking out too much in loans, because I'm majoring in finance, so budgeting is a pretty big thing for me. So that was definitely a big decision, because I have 2 older siblings and they both kind of went the same direction. So definitely, even if your top school didn't give you a lot of financial aid, you can try appealing them as well, but definitely consider how much you're paying for school before you apply. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. Rajay?
So I actually ED'd to Colgate early decision, more so because of the academics and because of other opportunities on campus that are related to my interests. But also when I got my financial aid package, it made it possible to go to the school of my choice. Yeah, like there's a lot of scholarships, and there's a lot of scholar programs at Colgate. that also help with some costs that are not factored into tuition. So just like with all that support, it helped me make the decision to go to Colgate.
Great. Thank you. Amanda has a question now. She's a junior and she wants to know what she should be doing right now to help afford college in the future. So I'm going to ask Teresa that question, but then I'm going to ask Reagan and Rajay to talk about what they did while they were juniors as they were thinking about college and the next steps. Okay, so Teresa, the official answer, and then our students jump in.
Okay, so as a junior, I do feel that that is one of your most important years, because when you think about it, you're applying to college in your senior year of high school, which doesn't capture all your grades. So those that are here that are in 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, what you do now does matter. And when you apply to college, they're going to have basically all your academic information from your high school up to your 11th grade. So what you can do now is do well in your classes, be involved, any type of clubs or extracurriculum activities that can give you an opportunity to network, and a lot of what we call outside scholarship opportunities. So it's scholarships that will follow you no matter what college you decide to go to, because it's through a private organization. That's where you could start networking while you're still in high school, in clubs and organizations, and see what if they have scholarship opportunities, and you could start applying for them when you're in 11th grade.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Rajay, you want to go first this time?
Yeah, so I would say as an English major, just approaching the essays a lot of times associated with scholarships and grants is just to demonstrate how how the education or academic interest is important to you, but also how it's important for people of your demographic or people beyond just your experience, how it's significant. Yeah, so that's just one way that I would just say how to approach essays related to scholarships.
Great. Reagan, what would you be prepping for as a junior?
I'd say I did mediocrely in high school for like grades and such, but I think the main source of where I got a lot of my money was I worked at McDonald's part-time during high school. And I know a lot of like larger businesses will have like a scholarship program that they'll offer students. So that paid, I think, around $3,000 when I started going to school for the first 3 years. And that was a really big part. And on top of that, I got paid, hourly. So I had a pretty big chunk of money saved up by the time I had to start school. So that on top of my grades and the scholarships I had, that was just a little bit of extra money I had going in.
Great. I have another question for the students. How did you determine how much you wanted to pay for college? Reagan, we'll start with you this time.
Right, how much I wanted to pay. So like I mentioned, I started off with a decent chunk of money and I was putting myself through college and I wanted to make sure I didn't take out too many loans. So the only loans I took out were through my school. I made sure to really evaluate my financial aid package for every school I was accepted to. And I'm like, can I survive on this? I make about, when I work on breaks and stuff, I probably make around $6,000 to $7,000 a year. So I calculated that. I'm like, okay, that means I can spend $3,500 a semester out of pocket, which isn't very much, which meant, again, I appealed. And if I tell them that, like, hey, I'm self-supportive, putting myself through school, that's kind of how I determined how much I would need financial aid-wise versus how much I could pay out of pocket.
Great. Rajay?
I would also echo what Reagan said about budgeting. So I definitely, determining how much I want to pay for college, I wanted to see how many loans, or how the debt after college that I would be committing to. So I didn't want to be stuck like paying back loans and like not moving forward with like housing and like my own apartment and like other financial goals that I have. So that played a role in deciding how much I wanted to pay.
Great, thank you. I actually have a question. I'm going to ask this question to Matt, but it is based off of Rajay's answer before. Do you get more money when you apply early decision compared to other ways to apply?
So here at RIT, when you're applying early decision, there isn't additional financial aid that comes from applying early decision. There are other benefits when it comes to wanting to get into a major of your choice. Things will fill up quickly. But as far as financial aid goes, no.
Okay, thanks.
Unless Gina or Teresa want to correct me on that answer.
It's the same at Colgate. The financial aid package that someone would receive would be the same if they were early decision or regular decision. That's a great question to ask either the financial aid office or the admission office as students are going through the application process, just to make sure.
So Anthony's question is, can I apply for private loans to help pay for college, and is a cosigner required to be approved for the private loans? And also, what is the difference between a private loan and a federal loan? Gina, Teresa, which one of you would like to take this one?
I'll start out, and I'll probably ask for help from a friend. We always say at Colgate that the federal loan programs are the loan programs that we would recommend families looking into first. And there are federal loans that can be borrowed in the student's name as well as the parent's name. And one of the reasons why we say we recommend those federal loans over private is they offer a lot of borrower benefits that the private loans don't necessarily have, ranging from fixed interest rates to a variety of loan repayment plans, hopefully one that's affordable based on someone's salary and just what they can do as far as a loan payment is concerned after graduation. If a family did want to go the route of private loans, then oftentimes those are credit-based loans, and sometimes they require either a minimum length of credit history or a credit score. And from my experience, most of the time students aren't necessarily approved just on their own, that it would require a credit-worthy cosigner for approval. But the private loans also have sliding scales as far as how expensive they are. So one might get a better interest rate on a private loan if they had someone co-borrowing with a really, really strong credit score or credit rating. But yeah, check into the federal loans first. That's my advice.
Teresa, Matt, do either of you want to add anything to that question or to that answer?
Yeah, so exactly what she said. I would say first for the students, they are able to get a limited amount from the federal government without having to go through a credit check or a cosigner. And I believe that's what our two students were talking about, that they were able to get the loans that they got from their college. That's through the federal loan for freshmen is $5,500, right? You don't need a cosigner. And then from there, it really depends on the family's situation. As Gina was saying, that the private sector is based on credit. So they do a comprehensive credit check. And I would definitely recommend the students to take out or to consider the loans that are just in their name at a lower interest rate, because a lot of times that's the lowest interest rate that you can get. But then you may need more loans. And as she was saying, there's federal loans for parents. And then sometimes students say, I just want to pay for it on my own. and I want an additional loan outside of what I already have. Because of the risks that come with these private loans with the banks, I would say most of the time, 99.9%, you will need a credit worthy cosigner. You will not be able to get additional loans by yourself. And then that's when you would see what the market offers you and whoever your cosigner is, because it's essentially a two-person loan, right? Versus what the federal Parent Plus loan, and see which one is best for you with the borrow benefits and interest.
And Teresa made me think of something as a follow-up. We've been talking about the student loans. There is something called a subsidized federal direct student loan. Those are the ones that are interest-free while a student is enrolled in school. And so I think that's why also another reason why you're hearing us recommend those. The basic rule for all financial aid is your grand total financial aid can't exceed the school's cost of attendance. So one could borrow both federal loans and private loans and cobble that together with scholarships and grants and work study, but just the whole package altogether can't exceed the school's cost of attendance.
Thank you. You were proactive in answering Alexia's question on public and private before I even got to ask it. So that's fantastic. Thank you. From Simone, are scholarships and financial aid for the first year only? Do you have to reapply each year, or are they awarded for the entire 4 years? Matt, do you want to start with that one?
Sure. So some of the merit-based financial aid is going to be dependent on the school that you're attending. Here at RIT, when we give merit-based financial aid at the time of admissions, that's going to follow you through all 4 years of your degree. Outside grants and scholarships that you apply for, though, could have some stipulations. So you'll definitely want to check into outside grants and scholarships, what their stipulations are through them. Some things here specific to our campus, endowed scholarships or some other scholarships that I personally use through NTID could have, just a 1 year time limit. But any kind of merit-based aid at the time of admissions will follow you through your college career.
Thank you so much, Matt. I'm going to pause for a second and give our panelists a minute to breathe before we go on to the next few questions. And just because we're into the scholarships, I want to spend a minute and talk about Big Future scholarships, and specifically Big Future New York scholarships. So this fall, all sophomores and juniors attending high school in New York State have been eligible for $10,000 Big Future New York scholarships. These are $10,000 scholarships that reward students for taking an initial career exploration step to plan for life after high school. There are 2 more weeks to participate in this program. So how does it work? When sophomores and juniors in New York complete a short career quiz on Big Future, they've been automatically entered into these monthly drawings for the $10,000 scholarships. We're going to award 4 more scholarships to New York State students, but please enter before November 30th to win those scholarships. And after taking that short career quiz, students are going to receive a personalized list of 30 potential careers to explore on Big Future based on their interests. So sophomores and juniors can learn more at and take the career quiz at bigfuture.org/NY scholarships. And we have a quick video we're going to play for a minute that gives you information on that.
What do you want to do after high school? Is a big question for any student, and it can be hard to know where to start. Big Future is the free online tool that helps students like you start planning for your future, your way. And our career quiz is a fast and easy way to discover some careers that could be a good match for you. The short quiz asks questions about the kinds of activities you enjoy to discover some careers that might best match your interests. Each career profile has income, education, projected job growth information, which you can sort by to tailor your results. And as you find careers you're interested in, you can save them to your list. Visit bigfuture.org/career quiz today.
Okay, hopefully that was helpful. Um, I am going to move on to the next question, and that is from Lizbeth. Where or when should my son apply for merit scholarships? He's applied to multiple colleges. I have to pick someone. I forgot for a second. Gina, we'll go with you. We're back in my circle.
Okay, great. So it's of course never too early, I think, to start applying for merit scholarships. And so depending on oh, I see the question again. So Elizabeth said that the student is currently applying to multiple colleges. So big piece of advice, look at their websites, look to make sure that you're not missing any deadlines. So different schools might have some early opportunities that one has to apply for something before a certain date. Oftentimes an admission application and the personal essay or the different questions asked on the admission application, that might be part of or the only merit-based scholarship application that exists. But I'd say start early anytime and just make sure to read each individual school's website to make sure you're not missing a deadline.
Great. And just to circle back and follow up, I think we said that merit money will follow you through the 4 years, but do you have to apply for financial aid every year? Teresa, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so you do want to make sure you complete the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA, each year. Each year you have to do that. And a lot of times there's deadlines for returning students to complete that. And if you had secured loans the previous year, you have to secure loans again. So definitely fill out the FAFSA each year, secure new loans. If you have scholarships, check with the college, or if it's an outside scholarship, check with the donor to see what the requirements are for it to be renewed. Do you need a specific GPA? Do you need to be enrolled in a certain amount of credits? Check with them.
A question from Linda. What is the influence of sports on financial aid and scholarships? Matt, I'm going to start with you.
And I'm going to ask to pass this. I don't deal with that at all ever. Sorry.
Great. I can give that one a whirl. Colgate University is actually a Division I school, and so we do have some athletic merit-based scholarships, or athletic-based scholarships, I should say. And so there are all kinds of rules with the NCAA as far as how early coaches can recruit prospective student athletes. And then, of course, each sport and each school will have different amounts of merit-based. I keep saying merit-based because one has to have merit and athletic competence, I suppose. So anyway, each school and each sport will have a different amount. That concept again of, is your total financial aid, it can't exceed the cost of attendance. So in some cases, an athletic scholarship can be paired with need-based aid or loans or work study. So really it's that complete financial aid package that could be comprised of all of the things that we've been talking about.
Great. One thing that Gina had mentioned was Division I. There can be a very active sports program, but if they're Division III or II, they may not have that opportunity to provide scholarships for athletes, even though they're recruiting the student. They want the student on to their team and enjoy their college, but they don't have the ability to offer that type of scholarship to them unless they're Division I.
Great, thank you. I am going to ask one last question for the panel. I'm going to start with asking the students to answer first, and that is, and then I would like our financial aid team members to answer afterwards. But what's the most important piece of advice you have for students who are trying to fund their future? Rajay, I'll start with you, and then we'll go to Reagan, and then we'll do Matt, Gina, and Teresa.
I would say do a little bit of research. Like, if funding your education is going to be an obstacle, I would say do a lot of research, just as much as you research about the academics, research about their financial aid offerings and programs. Also, in regards to FAFSA, one practical advice I would give is, as a returning student or even as a high school student applying for the first time, making, like, I don't want to say make an appointment with your parents, but definitely set a designated time aside so that when you fill out FAFSA, because you'll definitely need your parents' information too, and a lot of times people's schedules get busy. So definitely set aside time so you can dedicate that time and make sure that you meet the deadline of FAFSA and other financial aid things.
Thanks. Reagan?
I would definitely say, since you guys are all in high school, that get involved like outside of just your core classes, like having a hobby or doing any kind of sport, even if you're bad at it. It looks really great when you're applying to schools. And also there's like all those scholarship websites that you can look at. And if you have any interest in writing or woodworking or literally anything, they have very selective scholarships that you can definitely write about your interest with.
Great, thanks. Matt, Gina, Teresa, one sentence each of what advice you would give.
Complete your FAFSA form, even if you don't think that you're going to get anything through FAFSA, and follow up with each school that you're interested in.
That's great.
Meet deadlines and ask lots of questions. There are friendly financial aid administrators at every campus who are happy to help make sure that you're on the right track of submitting all of the information that's needed to apply.
To piggyback, yes, ask questions and do not pay for assistance to fill out a financial aid application or have an opportunity to apply for a scholarship, even if they're only charging $200. I've heard a lot of people paying people to help them apply for outside scholarships. Do not do that.
And unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today. I really would like to thank our special guests for joining us today. We really appreciate you being here with us and the advice and counsel you've gave. Thanks to everyone for joining Big Future Live. Again, we'd love to hear how today's session went. So after the session closes, you will automatically be redirected to a feedback survey. Please do complete it. We do review it so that we can make our next events better for students and families. If you missed anything during today's session, again, do not worry. We will be posting the recording on demand at bigfuture.org/live. Next week, there will be another New York themed event called Find the Career and Major for You. It's on Monday, November 21st. And if you're interested in more events to help you with your next steps, just go to the bigfuture.org/live Big Future Live schedule, and you'll see all the events that are scheduled for us. Thank you so much for attending, and have a great night.